The Eugene Johnson Show. The Eugene Johnson Show. The Eugene Johnson Show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Eugene Johnson Show. I'm your host, Eugene Johnson of the Crypto Crew. And as you can see, this is now going to be a podcast. I've had too many problems with my equipment, and the video is not saving right, and so I just figure I'll do a podcast from now on. I hope you guys still enjoy the stories. That's one reason that I have been absent, is because unfortunately I have not got any reports on anything. So what I've planned on doing with the show is I'm going to start telling some, well-known Bigfoot sightings and giving my theories on the subject, which in my absence I have been able to take time out, and when I've not been busy, again, it's with the movie, and I'm trying to record music with my band for the movie. And also my band, we just got done playing a show in Cincinnati, Ohio, which in Kentucky it's about an hour and a half away. So last Sunday that's what I was doing. But now I have free time, so in between my free time, when I've been absent, I've been listening to witness reports of Bigfoot on YouTube, and I have come to the conclusion that there are too many trusting people of these creatures. Then again, I stand on the fence where there's, a Bigfoot can be just like a human, where there's some that's good, some that's bad. And I mean, we've all had those days where we've been in a very bad mood, and anybody that comes up to us, we don't even want to be bothered with them. So I think that's the case with Bigfoot. But anyway, as I was listening to some of these witness reports over the last couple of months, I have discovered that people do some very, very dangerous things with these creatures, including feeding them, letting their children out to play when they know these creatures are around. It's just really, really crazy stuff, because, all in all, yes, Bigfoot may be a distant relative of humans, but all in all, it is still a wild animal. That's like, you're not going to go into the forest and see a buck deer standing there. You're not going to go up there and pet it because it's going to be in defense mode because it's the dominant male. It's the same thing with any wild animal. You're not going to go into the zoo, go into the cage and pet a lion. There's a reason for that. I think that, these creatures can be dangerous, and in fact, there have been many, many reports of these creatures, in fact, killing a human being. As a matter of fact, we'll get into that in the next show, but the shows I'm going to be doing this month are basically about attacks and killings by these creatures. Also, in the near future, I'm going to be doing a show about the beast of the land between the lakes, because it is also responsible for killing a human being. And the things that I've learned about that is that it's been a cover-up. They have reported that it was a bear attack and that the bear killed the human being, but we'll get into more of that in the next show. But as of right now, this is the story I'd like to tell tonight and give you my theories on. And a lot of you already know this story by heart. Any Bigfoot fanatic will know this story by heart. I remember the first time I ever heard it was on The Mysterious Monsters. That's one of my favorite DVDs and was one of my favorite movies as a child. Even though back then it scared me, but, I grew out of that and learned to love it. But the particular story I'm talking about is the incident at Ape Canyon. And a lot of you are already going, yes, Fred Beck and the coal miners. Well, gold miners, really. because in July of 1924, Fred Beck and about 4 other people went out to Ape Canyon, and it's right beside Mount St. Helens, and they went in there to find gold. And apparently, on the way in to find gold, going into camp, a bunch of Native Americans told them of the hill people that lived in the area. And of course, Fred Beck and the others, wanting to find gold, simply ignored them. But on the way into the camp, Fred Beck and members of his party seen footprints. And also, Fred Beck claims to have shot one of the animals, and its body falling off of a small hill. And after they shot it, he shot it, they went into camp and decided to camp that night. Well, this enraged the rest of the animals, because that night it was almost a 24-hour period of these animals attacking this camp. I guess there was many of them that attacked the cabin that were tossing rocks so big that they were taking large chunks out of the cabin. And that's pretty good size rocks to do that. Apparently, they were jumping onto the cabin on the roof. They were, doing everything. They were trying to get in the back door. They were trying to get into the windows. They were trying to get into the front door. And all Fred Beck and his crew could do was shoot through the cabin and try their best to fend them off for the night. Well, it appears that these creatures, Fred Beck described the creatures as anywhere from 8 to 10 feet tall. They were massively built, 600 to 800 pounds, with what the old-timers called a bull neck. And, that's what a lot of the old-timers, like my grandfather, would say about me or anybody else that was kind of large. He would say that I had a neck like a bull. And I could just imagine with these creatures how big their necks were. They've been described as having a head set on the shoulders that are big as bowling balls. And so anyway, Fred Beck, they and his crew fought these things all night long. They finally get a break when the creatures ran off early that morning, and they finally made their escape. But for that very reason, the canyon that they were in was known as Ape Canyon from that day onward, and that was July 1924. And I wouldn't understand why he would make it up, because in 1924, the Bigfoot phenomenon was not like it is today. The Bigfoot phenomena didn't even really blossom until 1958, when a group of construction workers in Oregon, I believe it was, or the California hills, I can't remember which, found the big feet prints around their working area, around the bulldozer. And that day, the newspaper come out and took pictures of the prints, and they also made plaster casts, and the one person called it Bigfoot. So that was but this was in 1924. And the Patterson film was shot in 68. So 66, I believe. But that was over 30 years apart. So, these creatures, and you get the Native Americans who have talked about them since the beginning of time. So these creatures have been around us long before we even migrated here. And that brings me to the fact that these things can be dangerous. Fred Beck and his crew were attacked all night long by these things. And I'm sure if any of them could have got in, they would have killed them all. And I mean, it's like some of the witness reports I've been listening to has had people going out and feeding them. And what that does is that makes an animal trust you. And when you don't provide, that makes that animal angry. And the next thing you know, it's attacking you, or even worse. But like I said, that the next show I'm going to do is going to be about killings. And, the creatures responsible is Bigfoot or dogmen. That's something else I'm going to cover in a later show is dogmen, because there's not too many dogmen encounters that I've listened to here recently. But I know they exist because the creature of the land between the lakes is supposedly a dogman or a type 3 Bigfoot. There are 4 types of Bigfoot. The first one looks more orangutan. The second one, I think, is a more Patty from the Patterson and Gimlin footage. The third one is a dogman-looking creature, or looks more like a baboon. And the fourth one, I think, is like a more like skunk ape type creature. But I've been trying to do as much research as I can on the subject. Hopefully, maybe one day, I'm going to try my best if I can get people to call in live and me talk to them about their experiences. But anybody that's listening, if you've got a report or a question or anything at all, you can email me at my personal email address, which is hulk18227@yahoo.com. Once again, that's hulk18227@yahoo.com. I'll be glad to answer any questions. I'll be glad to take any reports you have. I'll be glad to help you with any report that you have. I'm a member of a really, really exquisite team. And we will, if you had any encounters in the Kentucky area, we got people in Kentucky. We got people in different states all around the United States. So, we will definitely take your calls, and we will definitely take your reports. And if you don't want your name mentioned, that's fine too. I can understand, the fear of being ridiculed. I've been ridiculed many, many times over the subject, although I believe in it with all my heart, although myself have not had a Bigfoot encounter, but I just know, how do I say it? The evidence is there, and I believed that with all my heart for many years. And the thing that broke me into believing into the Bigfoot creature was the Patterson Gimlin footage. This was done at a time when special effects was not at its heyday like it is today. Somebody would have had to have many, 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 many hours of experience making that particular costume. And also they would have had to have millions of dollars to make that costume at that time. And the thing that got me is that, and it got a lot of other people, was the fact that you can see muscle movement underneath the hair. And that's what really did it for me. I'm a very strong believer in the subject. I believe they exist, and everybody's like, well, how come we haven't captured one? And it's simple, really. If you are a creature that's been around from the beginning of time, and you're adapted that much to live in the wild, you are going to figure out ways to be camouflaged. And I firmly believe that when one of these creatures die, the other creatures bury it. I think that they move in small family groups, and I think they're just as curious about us as we are of them. But like I said again, they can be dangerous. I can almost guarantee they can be dangerous. Like I said, they have been known to kill people. The best story about that was the account of Teddy Roosevelt. And one of the creatures killed one of his friends or trackers, best I remember. So, the evidence is all around us that these creatures can be dangerous, and my advice would not be to feed them. My advice would not be to go out anytime these creatures are around at night. It's not a good idea to go out by yourself. That's the ultimate no-no. You don't want to go out into any part of the woods, at least in my case, because I've hunted and tracked and fished and everything for years. But one thing I never did go without, and that's some kind of protection. And I'm not talking about a .22 or something small like that. Any type of creature. A big buck deer that is around, 250 to 200 pounds. It's going to put up a good fight. And if you're not careful and you only have a .22 and you just graze it, it's going to become furious and it's going to wind up killing you. It's that way with any animal. But a 8-foot tall, 900-pound male Sasquatch is not going to have any trouble ripping somebody apart, piece by piece if need be. So that's why if you ever go in the woods, I suggest carrying a pistol or a rifle with some kick and some stopping power. I myself, when I used to go hunting and fishing, I had my deer rifle, which was usually a 30-06 to a 300 Winchester Magnum rifle, and I always carried a sidearm, which was usually a 357 Magnum to a 44 Magnum. And if need be, a 9mm would do the job too. 45, anything like that. Because with enough shots, it'll definitely knock some down. But then again, like I said, I don't want to go into the woods with a knife and a stick. That's just completely crazy if you ask me, because, like I said, some of these things have been described as being 10 to 12 feet tall and weighing over 1,000 pounds. And that's something you definitely don't want to meet in the woods on a dark night. Unless you got plenty of protection and you can make a break for it as soon as possible. But then again, people, this is going to be my show for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next couple of weeks. See, today is Saturday, so I'll probably do one the Saturday after next. I did do a show last night, but the file got corrupted, so I had to re-download some stuff to do this show. And like I said, I appreciate everyone being patient with me. I really, really miss doing the show, but without any kind of reports or anything like that, I didn't have anything to do a show on. So I'm going to start telling some of my favorite Bigfoot encounters to you guys on a podcast type deal. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And like I said, feedback is always appreciated. You got my personal email address if you need to tell me anything. I will answer any question. I will answer all emails. And if you, like I said, if you got a report of a sighting, I can, investigate it myself, or have my, our team leader, Tom, get in touch with you, but we'll make sure we'll investigate it. That's a promise. But anyway, guys, that's tonight's show. Join me, Saturday after next, and we will do a show on the beast of the land between the lakes and the killing that happened at the land between the lakes. So you guys take care. I will see you all soon, and for everybody, happy Mother's Day and a good night.
Очень нас не ждет. Очень нас не ждет. Очень нас не ждет.